Tracks play. Let's do this.
Yeah. I make sure I hit the record early.
Yeah, don't miss it.
Yeah.
20 episodes, okay? 20 episodes. That's first time. By the way, Amber in 2 days had 200 views. 202. It's the most ever.
My Facebook got just ripped of oh my god, and sidebar.
Mm-hmm.
And then people said, okay, where do we go to subscribe? I said,
yeah, we're at 114.
Or as you're watching it, you guys just subscribe as you're watching her video.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then tell everybody else. I had a lot of people go, oh my gosh, they call you the distinguished gentleman, Miguel. My friend, they go, the distinguished gentleman. I said, which one? Yeah, you know. They go, I think he's Hispanic or he's Puerto Rican. I said, okay, that good. I go, yeah. About him, they said, he seems so passionate.
You were in it. Mm-hmm. hey guys, I gotta tell you, I just got back. I just brokered the biggest deal in Las Vegas, and I'm sure you guys. The news it may be out on the airways before we do the podcast, but I just got back from Vegas, and I'm not a me guy, but I did it. I got the executives together from the Apollo Global Management, and I got the Venetian and Palazzo sold. Did you know that?
What?
I brokered one of the biggest deals in Las Vegas. You know, the Venetian was built in 1999, you know, in Las Vegas, as it boasts like 36 stories and it's more than 475 feet, over 4,000 rooms, 120,000 square foot casino floor. And I got the executives together, Apollo Global Management, APO, and the Sheldon Adelson team. And I sat them down and I said, listen,
we must internalize the flatulation of the matter by transmitting the effervescence of the Indonesian proximity in order to further segregate the crux of my venereal infection.
You know what I mean? And I did it. I did this. I'm telling you, the land rights itself, I got them to buy it for $4 billion. Yes, indeed.
Well, congratulations and bravo. I would do a standing ovation.
Very proud.
You know, I'm only...
Very proud. Very proud.
They've been in talks, negotiating about it for a while now.
And I can say, I know you win.
I'm a mess, aren't I? I'm a mess. But I think they're bringing in some huge entertainment. I think the producer that produced the show, the Hamilton show or whatever, I think they have some options there as well as.
I've never seen that show.
Yeah. In addition, they're like I said, they're going to have $1 billion in renovations, primarily anything that touches the customer experience. That's what they're going to be upgrading and so forth. So it's probably the one that I think is said to be the largest deal in Las Vegas.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Just the commission alone on it, your great grandchildren wouldn't have to work.
So congratulations to the Sands and APO. Congratulations
and
to
you.
them. Yes. But in all seriousness, we have a great person that we're going to be speaking with today. He's someone that impacted my career. He has come from a long line of educators and he winded up in the casino business and grew from the bottom floor of the gaming industry to rise to many levels throughout the industry, Showboat, Bally's, Trump Plaza, MGM, and Foxwoods and so forth. His name is Augie Renner. He's going to be with us today. And so let's welcome Augie. I think he is here somewhere. Did I lose Augie? I think he's here.
There you are. Aloha this fabulous morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Augie. Good to see you again. Jesus, how many years has it been?
After the Blue Note, what happened? That was my favorite place.
Oh, I remember you used to bring guys. Had two clubs, the Yacht Club and the Blue Light, and I had some partners there. And then we had the jazz thing, and Augie would bring down celebrities down there. And, you know, we were right off the boardwalk. I remember the night you called me and Buddy Greco.
Yeah.
the famous Buddy Greco.
Oh
He
my
said,
God.
Bruce, I got Buddy Greco with me. Can you meet me? We'll be there in about 5 minutes. And he pulled up in his fabulous limo. Remember, Augie?
Oh, I loved it. And, you know, he got on the keys and he started playing and singing. And I sang the song Birth of the Blues, and everyone was getting up and singing. And it was one night I will always remember. And therefore, I always think of you because it was your
Oh, man.
Aw.
I never got to see it. I never got to see it
That's
because
so cool.
yeah, I never.
It was awesome. And, you know, a lot of people, he had a couple more shows. A lot of people went to see him after that show. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you two should sing just a little jingle.
The Birth of the Blues, that's all I love. When a whippoorwill, high on the hill, you'll hear a blue note.
Well, I usually ask this question out of everyone that are our guests. So out of the clear blue sky, what made you decide to say, I'm going to go work for a casino?
I was a teacher and a coach for 10 years, and I had a sabbatical coming, which means I could take a shot somewhere else. And if doesn't work out, they save my job. So I was a teacher K through 12. I was the health teacher, South Orange Maplewood, and that's up in North Jersey. And I'm from West Orange. And so I loved the kids. I also coached the football team and the wrestling team. So I had a lot going for me. And I decided to do something else for that 1 year since I could work it out. And in order for me to feel like I'm doing something, I wanted to become a dealer. And so I was going to dealer school during the days. And I was a busboy at Billy's Pub at night.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bally's.
Yeah. And Billy's Pub had great acts.
Remember Freddie Empire?
I sure do, man. He lit it up. He lit it up. He had that big, that car must have been like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Ooh.
It was awesome.
He was like a black Elvis Presley or something, but he was hip.
Ready to dance.
Everybody was waiting for him to come back. I mean, they had good entertainment. Guy named Gary Painter was the one that booked that act.
Mm-hmm.
I miss those days.
They weren't as big as the Vegas Lounge acts.
We had Frank Sinatra Jr. for a long time at the Castle when we opened.
Yeah.
He was a lounge act.
Oh my gosh.
He wasn't a bad singer, but he didn't want to sing the songs of his father.
Mm-hmm.
And his personality really wasn't there. And so he was hard to talk to. He really didn't want to talk to people. He didn't like to meet people after the show was over. And he was quite a different person. He passed away too, by the way.
Yeah. I have a funny story for that. We booked him when I was in South America, in Punta del Este. Again, at that time, what he was doing was a tribute to his father, and he was singing all his father's songs. We had him there, and I remember I had an old customer, and the guy comes to me after the show and says, I thought he was dead. He says, no, you had him right there. He's live. He's right there. He says, oh, he looks so young. Sounds exactly the same. He says, yeah.
They say that about me all the time when people see me.
He thought it was Frank Sinatra.
Oh my gosh. He did?
I didn't want to burst his bubble. He was so excited.
Yeah. He's
to wake up in that city that doesn't sleep and find I'm king of the hill, top of the heap, my little town blue.
That's so cute. Okay, so then you decided to do what after,
Well, once I became, I was working at Billy's Pub, so it was Bally's. And then I took the test after I finished craft school, and I passed it. I became a craft dealer.
Never knew that.
And I dealt for about 2.5 years. And in between that, I got pretty good at it, and they moved me up to the high-end table games. And one of the things I remember was people would walk by the dead game. If we had a dead game, I would smile and kind of wave to them, and everybody was getting mad at me. What are you doing? I have a dead game. And I said, well, we get paid by tokes,
Mm-hmm.
So why not? So they decided that my personality actually fit it, and they kind of enjoyed the fact that I get games started. But like some of the other team members, not the dealers, they rather kind of relax as much as they could have. So I never kind of forgot that, because as time went on, I left the dealing situation because they asked me to take a position. And that was when the dealers were asked to join a union.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
That was Local 331. Yeah. And so this is where my entire life changed, because I would get to work, I was single, 3 hours early because I had nothing to do.
No.
And I really didn't have a lot of money then, and I would enjoy eating in the cafeteria.
We all did that. We all did that.
Yeah, I did that too.
Some money, yeah. And I would have breakfast before I left.
Okay, that's good. And so what happened was I got there so early. I don't know if you remember Dean Maycomber, Bobby DeSalvio, and all those guys. They were in admin, and they were the ones who like would tell you like, this is where you're doing this week. I got there so early that they started saying, "Oh, what are you doing?" I go, "I have nothing to do. They go, "Listen, we're always short on people. Do you want to go up and deal?" So I said, "Sure." And it turns out that I got to know all the day shift dealers. And of course, I work nights. So I got to know all the night shift dealers. I actually became head of the toll committee at one time, where I count the money at the end of the shift, because I had nothing to do. So I said, "Yeah, I'll do all that." And here comes the union, and they decide that they could unionize the dealers. And that's in gaming, that's never been done anywhere, because at that point it was just Atlantic City and Las Vegas, but there was no unions for the dealers. So the people at the top of the ladder, the Gilmans and all those groups of people, Gilman was the CEO, they were shocked at all this, because they didn't know what was going on in the pits. And it was kind of a lot of unfairness. And so they decided to have meetings. And the meetings were really the people who wanted the union to come in. Those dealers were very loud, boisterous, and kind of demanding. Evidently, Dean Maycomber couldn't find out, like, well, what are the real problems here? And so he was over the admin people. And he said, "What do you know about the dealers? Why do they want a union?" And so I think it was Bobby DeSalvio said, "Go talk to Augie Renner. He knows all the day shift dealers. He knows the night shift dealers. He stays late. Ask him." So Dean Maycomber asked me, and I wasn't that interested in it because I didn't even understand. The title was Director of Human Resources. And I said, "Well, I'm not sure about that, but thanks." So the next night,
offered you a job as a Director of Human Resources?
Well, what happened, that was they posted the job, but he found me and he started talking to me, and he asked me about that job. So the next day was another meeting, and somehow they wound up finding a way to sit me in the middle, but I didn't think about that too much, but I sat in the middle. And when it got around to me, because everybody had a chance to talk, the people who really were pro-union were kind of loud and almost demanding that, we go along with it. The people who were real quiet, I don't know what they were thinking, but when you're quiet, to me, that means probably not sure what you're going to do. So I stood up, because in my teaching experience, you stand up.
And not just that, you're afraid to put attention to yourself. You're afraid to lose your job.
That's right.
You're afraid that you lose your job, because those jobs are precious. Not everybody could be a dealer.
So I stood up and I said, "Listen, here's my take on this. I'm listening to everything. But I know since this started that upper management has to find out what the problems are and deal with the problems. So I think we should give them 6 months. And if nothing's going to happen in 6 months, then they don't really mean anything. And I'll vote for the union myself. But I think they should have that 6 months, because I don't think they really know what's going on."
But how did what brought you to that? Did you have experience with dealing with these types of circumstances and things that, this was just something that like it just came to you?
My family in New Jersey, by the way, my family business was a bar. And I cleaned the bar before went to school. Then I cleaned the bar before I went to high school. Then I cleaned the bar when I was a teacher, because my dad owned it, but he did everything himself.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a bartender, so when I became of age, or even when I cleaned the place up, you know how to deal with all kinds of people, all walks of life.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people were political people that came into the bar. So you kind of hear all this going back and forth, and you kind of learn like who's making a fool of themselves and who's trying to help. So I always like that part of me, because I like to listen and try to figure out what's the real issue here.
Cool.
And so I think the real issue was a union that really wanted the dealers to go with the union, and people who were silent and weren't sure what to do. And so I took the job. The Dean Maycomb, right after that last meeting, after I spoke, the next day he offered me the job. And so we said, you have a meeting tomorrow morning with Dorothy Atanasio. She was like number 2. Gilman was the CEO. And I said, oh, well, it was at like 10 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't even get off. So rather than me go back, I stayed there, just laid on a bench. And when it was time for me to go upstairs, I went upstairs, but I didn't know where it was. And so people had to, help me get to it. And then there's these beautiful doors, and you go in the doors, and I still have my dealer's uniform on with the apron. And these people right in the beginning, when you walk in, they said, can we help you out? And I said, well, I have a meeting here. She goes, you sure you have a meeting here? And I said, yeah. Who is it for? I can't pronounce her name. It's Mrs. Atanasio. Oh, Dorothy. They said, Dorothy. She goes, you're probably in the wrong place. What's your name? I said, my name's Augie Renner. All right. All of a sudden, here comes Dorothy Atanasio marching out, saying, are you Augie? I go, yeah, I'm Dorothy. Come on. So she just loved me. I don't know what happened there. She just really, I'm very to point. She goes, I hear good things about you. I go, how do you know me? She goes, I find my ways. So I was exhausted. So now I started helping the day shift dealers. After that, it was like a 2-hour meeting. And then I'm exhausted. I'm looking forward, because I still have to do my night shift. I get tapped out, and they said, you got tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock meeting. I go, I can't have another 10 o'clock meeting. So I go, well, this is with the big guy. I go, who's the big guy? This guy, Richard Gilman, he's the CEO. So I had to do the same thing. I was exhausted. I'm wearing the same clothes. And I go up, and the people now, when I walk in for Mr. Gilman, they say, okay, we'll let Mr. Gilman know you're here. So I go in there, and I never forget this. My process was, I was really tired. So I'm sitting down, and he's talking to me, and all about the needs of finding out the problems. And was very serious and concerned, because they didn't know there were some serious problems in the dealers, within the dealers. And so the first thing I thought of, I wasn't listening to him, but I saw this picture to the left of one of his sons, and a picture to the right of one of his sons, and a picture in the back with his wife and his sons. Big picture. So Woody says, what do you have to say? And I go, I really like the pictures of your family. That's all I could think of, because I wasn't listening to him. So he told me the story. And one thing he said has lasted the rest of my life with what he said. He said, I hope that I could be a good example to them, and I hope that they're going to be okay. And I said, well, Mr. Gilman, they could be okay. I mean, you're in charge here. I'm sure they're going to be okay. You're a very big person. He goes, that has nothing to do with it at all, because they're going to be on their own someday. And so that you can't teach that. So it was just something that I just can't
that
forget.
stuck with you, Augie, but I don't know if you guys, Miguel knows, but Augie was the first person that recruited me to be a host. And now it kind of, as you tell the story, I see how you integrated me, because you did the same thing with me that happened to you. The exact same thing. Only thing, it wasn't Dorothy that I met. It was Millie.
Billy Punzi.
She was your assistant.
Yeah, she's like 87, and I still talk to her.
Oh man, she is a sweetheart. Oh man,
She was so dull.
and the same thing when as you were speaking it, there was a trajectory of myself, my spirit going into your body, because I felt the same thing that you did with me. But one thing that also connects with me, and now that you're telling the story, I'm getting to know you better than I did before in this short 10-minute period, because I remember one day I said to you when we were working, and I was a floor person at the Showboat at the time, and Augie noticed me like he was noticed. He was walking through the pit one day, dapper, looking as handsome as he is right now. And Jesus Christ, you look so good. I could tell you were at the gym this morning. What time were you at the gym this morning?
3:00.
Yes, see, I know it, And he
just went to bed.
he came through the pit one night, and I'm flooring this dice game, and I'm seeing him come through in the pit. Of course, he's a different person that I know. He's not somebody that I knew or recognized. So I said, "Who's that coming through the pit?" But he was dapper as stuff. And as he walked through the pit, he was gliding past, and I just spoke to everybody. I just was my way. Hey, excuse me. Yeah, how's it going? And of course, he spoke back, and hey, good to see. Hey, I never met you before. How you doing? Are you working here? He says, yeah. He says, hey, I'm Augie Renner. His jaw moved back and forth. Hi, I'm Augie Renner, and I, very dapper. And well, nice to meet you. Hey, Augie, we'll walk in the Showboat. And if I can ever help you with anything, let me know. I'm a floor person. I didn't know who he was. And then he walked by and he said, hey, that's the GM or vice president of player development. And those titles to me, because I'm just a floor and a dealer on the floor, these titles were stuff I would see on TV. Goldman Sachs or something, vice president of, I'm like, oh. And there would be this glow up in the sky, this in the rainbow, vice president, and you would hear these horns playing, dun, 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 vice president. And so I said, Jesus Christ, dumb me, stupid me, I'm probably gonna lose my job now. I spoke to the vice president, and I told him if I can ever help him, let me know. I'm saying, shit, I'm gonna get fired, because you didn't speak to vice presidents or nothing.
Those are the good things that happened to some of us. I was part of a similar experience. Somebody took me off. Bucky Howard took me off the operations side. I was a pit boss at the time, and there were a lot of Latin people coming in, and they had Joe Jimenez. He was by himself. So they asked me if I wanted to be helping them out. I said, yeah, sure, let's go. And it changed my life. It changed my life. You start growing and moving from one property to another. You meet new people, you meet new customers, and that's what it's all about in this game. The more relationships you develop, the more you are appealing to somebody in a different property. So it gets you, and we're all thankful, and we should pass it along.
So thankful.
Bruce has, and so have I. That somebody gave me a hand at one point. So I've given out so many hands out there that I need to be an octopus, but have more hands to give.
You're the reason why I'm here, Miguel. You gave me a hand.
Yeah. And you left Atlantic City at one point and went to Las Vegas. How was that transition for you? Because most of us, the East Coast guys, were a little leery about Nevada. I had opportunities to go to Nevada many times with Caesars, with Tropicana, with Bally's, and I always turn them down. Something about Las Vegas, the weather I didn't like. I'm a guy that I suffer in the heat. But how was your transition? How did you come about that?
I really never left New Jersey.
Oh, so you stayed in New Jersey?
Yeah. What I did was I traveled a lot to Las Vegas. Sometimes for meetings, sometimes I would just get called by the CEO and ask me to come down because they want to talk some plans out. But normally it was when there was a big group I knew I wanted to be with, or it was an event where booked a lot of people. I also opened 10 other offices up for them. And it was my job not just to open the office, but to pick the location and then to make sure I get all the equipment in the office where we picked, and then pick the people. I wound up with 13 people in it. And then when there was a merge, we also wound up with Mark Giuliano. He and I knew each other. And then there was something happening with the merger, and it came through the Wynn property. And somebody in the MGM, I guess, didn't like Mark. So Mark and I talked, and he said, do me a favor. Can you find out what's going on? And the reason he called me was we were having this really big party in New York. And Mark and I, I said, these are the players we're bringing. And Mark was bringing some really good players, and we're going to go up together. So Mark called me into his office, and I said, oh, just something brewing. I don't know what it is. You're the only one I could trust. Can you find out what's going on? So Bob Moon knew Mark very well. Yeah. And I asked Bob, I said, Bob, you don't have to answer this question because you're high up and you may not want to. But Mark Giuliano as a friend, he's kind of concerned. Is there anything I could tell him? And he told me what I had to tell Mark. He was on his way out. And so Mark really thought highly of me because it was uncomfortable for me to do that. But it was the first time I actually got involved in something like that at that level. And he went, guess what he did? He left and became the president of
Rivage.
Yeah. So, and then, of course, the rest is history.
He became the president of what? I'm so sorry.
The Beau Rivage in Mississippi.
Oh, the Beau Rivage. That's right. He also became the president of Caesars, where I was.
Yeah,
he became the president of Caesars. Then he went to Career. Then he did a whole bunch of things with the Venetian, then Career, then a whole bunch of other things. And I think you guys know where he's at now.
Yes.
Yeah. And he's got a lot of the same guys he had in the past working for him.
Where is he at now? I don't know where he's at.
Bahama.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, they went through a few different people, and it looked like Mark's there now, and he seems to be there for a while.
Been there for a few years now.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so it's kind of things like that, that in our business, that's one of those. And I had that on mute, so I don't know why that did that.
I'm not cutting that out, by the way.
It's like the old
leave it in.
I lied to you. I lied.
I took it. So it's our business. We all kind of know the ups and downs. I'm going to guess you had your share of downs because I had my share of downs. And so it's you don't always move because it's an opportunity. You move because you had to leave. And so those are the top things that I remember. Like how did that happen, and did I land on my feet? So for me, I landed on my feet, and I was really happy about that. I remember when I left Trump Plaza, and then thanks to me leaving Trump Plaza, I got the job at MGM.
Yeah. Because of integrity. Integrity goes a long way.
Yeah.
It's the lifeblood of our business.
And then I didn't put this in here, but I think you're going to like this story. I think you know who Mark Brown is.
Yes.
Okay. So
was it Foxwoods? Foxwoods?
No. Mark and I worked together at the Taj Mahal. We were both of us the pit bosses at the Baccarat pit. And then Mark got promoted to a shift manager, keep growing. He became president of the Taj Mahal, ended up in Macau. He's done well for himself. Yeah.
Very well.
I know I've heard the name.
And so Mark and I met Mark, you ready for this? When he was 18 years old.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I don't know, it's kind of like with Bruce, I just something about them, So we became friends. And of course, Mark moving up, I'm moving up. And I now I'm with MGM, and Mark's working for Caesars in AC. And I get a call from the place that I left, and it was Nick Ribas on the phone. and Nick Ribas says, hold on for Joe Gazzardo. So Joe says, look, Nick wants me to talk to you about it. I said, what is it, Joe? How can I help you? He goes, Mark Brown. We hear a lot about Mark Brown. He's at Caesars. And Nick wants to take him and put him in Trump Castle at the time, it was called. Mm-hmm. In 1 year, we're going to get rid of the president and we're going to make him the president.
Wow.
So can you talk to him about that?
Things that happen behind the doors.
Yeah. So I said, yeah, I talk to Mark all the time. So I call Mark up and I say, listen, I got this phone call. Would you be interested in leaving and go and have a high position, like a VP position? And in a year, they're saying you're going to be president of Trump Castle. So Mark goes, what are you talking about? Mm-hmm. I said, I got the call from Nick Ribas. You know he is, right? And explained a little bit. And I said, this guy, Joe Gazzardo, we were real good friends. And he laid it out for him. So he goes, well, I don't know. I go, well, what do you make now? It wasn't that much. So I call back and I tell Joe Gazzardo, this Mark's really interested. Now, you have to understand, he's a top guy in the industry. And I said, you know, you got to be talking about 500,000 because this was crazy, right? Because just a long time ago. And I said, but we could negotiate that down. He goes, Nick's not going to go for that. I go, I know, but I know what's going to happen. If I start out any less than that, go ask Mark to work for less than he's making now. So I don't think he really went and said 500,000. But I told Mark that, and Mark says, I'm never going to get that job. No one's going to pay me $500,000. I go, and this is funny. Someday you'll be making more than that, Mark.
Yeah.
And so it turns out that he takes the job. I'm going to tell you what he got then. So this is a long time ago, $350,000. And so he takes the job.
I think that was like in the 80s, right?
No, it was in the 90s. So Mark and he talks all the time. And then Nick Ribas decided that Trump liked Mark more than he liked Nick. And Nick's 10 years was coming up. So he could then get thrown out because he had a 10 year.
So what was the thing about Mark, though, if you don't mind me asking? What was he like? I mean, was he a numbers guy? Was he just a people person? What was his thing that he was worth?
Good looking, people person, dressed nice,
very
sharp, good with people, good with players.
Yeah.
Well liked.
Employees loved him. So
employees loved him. He was good with the employees.
Yeah.
And so he moved up. And when they got rid of the president, Nick Ribas put in someone else instead of Mark.
He didn't have a contract?
Oh, he did, but
he had a contract, but
that was just a promise, not a
that part was
contract that he was going to go up.
And I think that was Joe Bent. He had an aneurysm. I forgot what his name was.
That was John Belial.
John Belial became the president, but it didn't last because of that. But then Nick would come in every day before that happened and tell Mark, why don't you get the F out of here? You don't do anything anyway. Why don't you get, but Trump wasn't going to allow that. So Nick was trying to force him to quit. And then he could say the guy quit. Well, what happened was the 10 years of his was over and Trump made Mark the CEO. Yeah. And then the rest is kind of history.
Atlantic City back in the day, there was a power struggle in every property. There were power struggles galore. And it was something that you could see it. I could see it when I was in operations. And then when I moved to marketing, I could see it even more because I was there in the top offices and I could hear things and I could witness things happening within even the same teams of people that came in with one guy. There was big tussles,
power struggles.
I want to be the top guy's man.
This group against that group.
There were 10 guys in a team that he brought in, but they were all competing to be the best guy for him.
Human nature.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah. Well, now you guys double that as a woman. Okay. In this industry, when you director of slots and then coveted spot, right? And so, I mean, you've got a lot of, I had a lot of people who had said, well, we're going to go get our boss. And here comes, the director of slot says a woman and they go, I need a bigger boss than you. And I said, everywhere you go. And it's still that way today. Yeah. I mean, it is still a jungle out there of, I want that position. And there have been so many times that, they said, I want your position. I want you to have my position. Because if I don't do that, I'm not doing a good job. I'm not doing a good job of being a mentor, a boss, a leader, or whatever. I want you to take my job, right?
But what happens with that is you're doing all of those things. You're comfortable doing those things because that's the culture you're in. As soon as there's a shift in the culture because of some one person moves that's in that position of power, right? And you're comfortable doing your thing, they're not into that.
Nope.
And all of a sudden, they put you in your place.
Oh yeah, my enthusiasm and my passion became very critical or criticism, and things like that. And I just went, if you don't like the things that I say or do, then you got to let me go.
That's tough to deal with, though.
Yeah,
that's tough.
It is
because you're
it really
being
is.
yourself. The best you could be as yourself. The worst you could be as someone else, and that is you. That is the lifeblood of who you are, and that's what makes you successful. And so when you're out of that ecosystem, I use that ecosystem again. Richard Marcus likes that. When you're in that ecosystem, in the culture that fits and suits your ethics and your work ethic, because you have to feed your family, right? You got to pay your bills. So sometimes you got to kind of like suck it up. And, when they always say, unless you're independently wealthy, make a decision.
No, there's not enough money in this world to keep me to stay or continue to be in that type of environment.
I didn't say sell out. I didn't say sell out, not selling out.
Oh yeah. No. But there have been times, and I'm sure Augie has seen that, where, some of our executives, and they're going to be this way. Okay. And whether you are allowed to give your expertise or if you're not, right? It is at that moment that I'm like, okay, obviously what I'm saying, you don't either agree with me or your knowledge base isn't there, which that happened a lot of times. You just sit there and go, okay, I got it. Right. And I understand it. It's just the shady things that go on sometimes, that you go, yeah, I can't be a part of that, that type of thing. But all of us have been in this casino industry for so long. I'm still the baby compared to all of you three. But there are so many times that we just look and say, this is how we are. And if we made a difference in one person's life or two people's lives, that to me is all that matters. And our customers is what matters to us. And especially with you being in as a VP and a player development, it is all about our customers and what we do. Our customers won't return if it wasn't for our team members, right? And very similar to what you did. That's how Augie, looked at you, and Miguel, found you. But if it wasn't for our team members, we are only as good as we are as the team that we have.
They're a reflection of us. Can I change the direction for a minute, Augie? We were talking about, especially when I got here to Punta Cana, 80% of our business, of our main revenue came from high-end play of tournament play and so forth. And everything was predicated on the deal, bring these players in, the deal. And one of the first things I thought about when I was exposed to it was something you put in my mind years and years and years ago as a host. Because when I was learning about being a host, we were always making cold calls and, hey, how's it going, Nick? Well, how's your wife? And then, hey, come on now, we have a show going on and we have this event, and bringing them down. And they wanted, transportation or, reimbursement of transportation. It wasn't really big because I didn't have those level of players. And you said, Bruce, I'll never buy business. I'm not in the business of buying business. We don't buy business. That's the worst thing. So I'm learning. And so buying business was always something that stayed with me for 25, 30 years now, all of those years. But coming here and then getting into this level, it was these deals. I want this up front. I want promo chip. What's your take on that, Augie, and how this changed? Do you see that?
I think it's widespread. I just think that we've all done it. In the beginning, you want to get the person in and you figure, well, we'll do it this time and see how it works. Or you think that's fair. And then later on, you kind of grow into understanding it, particularly when you get called in and they go, you're giving too much out.
Yeah.
That's when you decide, yeah, I got to stop doing that. So, but sometimes they may deserve some of it, or maybe in some cases what they're asking for, and you need to make a decision. You want to take that shot or not? And we've seen in New Jersey, we've seen slots were the place. Then it was table games was the place, then slots was the place, and in Las Vegas, it's not even gaming anymore.
Restaurants, liquor.
Yeah, it's basically everything but gaming. That doesn't mean that gaming doesn't count, but I think when they started in other states, internet gaming online, and then the sports book online, there's two things that I don't think it's a good idea. Both of those two. So if there wasn't so many casinos now in all the states, I think Hawaii is the only one without casinos. I would think that was enough. But now you have all these casinos, and it makes it too easy for people to, particularly the younger people, just don't get it yet, to gamble, particularly in sportsbook. My problem is the only thing that I could relate to. There's a lot of things going on now. There's smoking. I think you're following that. Ban smoking, and then to come up with other ideas. And it goes back and forth all the time. So I can understand that because, I was a dealer, just didn't think about it. But I also was raised in a bar, so I was used to smoking my face.
The players are so smart now. They come right in. What's my Theo? What's my Theo? What's my Theo? What's my Theo? And I got to get, what's my Theo? Let me check my Theo.
But it comes down to if the player deserves it. I mean, competition is right now, it's unbelievable because there's so many options out there. But my take on it was that if the guy was going to give me what I asked for, if you give me so many hours at this average bet with such a line, with so much money available, if you qualify your bankroll for me, I'll give you this. Because that in itself is part of the business. What I don't consider being part of the business is that when a customer comes in and tells me, well, they're giving me this at MGM, or they're giving me this at Caesars, giving me that. And I says, well, you don't play for that. If I give it to you, then I'm not doing my job. My job is to collect revenues, make revenues for the property that pays my salary.
That's buying business. If they're giving them when they don't deserve it.
Correct.
Because their play doesn't qualify, that's buying business, right?
If you qualify your bankroll, in my opinion, as long as you qualify the bankroll, you're going to get the deal that you deserve. But I stretch it out a little bit, maybe. Maybe what I cannot do is treat you as $1 million player when you're just a $200,000 guy. There's a lot of guys out there that carry $1 million line, but they're not $1 million player. I could probably carry $100,000 line myself. Am I going to play it? Hell no. I'm not even a $5,000 player. So just because I have a line, it doesn't mean that I should be treated like a $100,000 guy. You have to qualify your bankroll. If you give me the 12 hours at 2,000, at 2% average bet, your line, and you give me a quarter of your line in Theo, you're my man. I'm going to take care of you all the time. If you don't, then I'll take care of you as your theoretical dictates to me that is the bankroll you're qualifying for. And so far, I mean, there's a lot of young guys out there, and I say young guys because we're all in our age now, that they'll do anything to get the business in.
Yes.
And it's not profitable. That's why there's a lot of properties and a lot of places, a lot of casinos that don't make money. We're here to make money. I'm not here just to bring a guy to come in and say, "Oh yeah, I got Bruce Harris here. He's a linebacker with Tampa Bay." So what? I can't deposit that on Monday morning when the truck comes in to pick up the money for the weekend. I can't say, "Oh, I had Bruce Harris here, Tampa Bay linebacker. Take that to the bank and deposit it." You can't say that. You can only deposit money. Therefore, they have to be careful. And I see it. I see Bruce. I've seen it. I've seen it with many guys that we work with. And there are properties that you got 20 guys doing exactly the same. I'm giving Ogie $100. Bruce calls him, well, Miguel is giving you 100, I'm going to give you 200. Now the next guy, right there, not from another property. So all of a sudden, the guy that deserves $100 in a span of a week had 10 offers and is now getting 1,000.
He expects it. Do you see that, Augie?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all experienced doing our best and hoping that they meet what our expectations. And I think if somebody comes in and you believe them the first time, they come back and want everything the second time when they didn't meet the expectations, then you just tell them, I can't do it because the last time you didn't do what you said you were going to do. Then they'll either leave or they'll come back later because the other places are saying, we're not going to give you that anymore. And it's just, a circle. They keep trying to hit somebody that's going to give in.
And we are the ones, we the people that manage this young executives to watch for these things and tell them, no, you can't do this. I'll give anybody a deal. I'll give anybody a shot. The first time, this guy, he lost $1 million over there 2 months ago. He says, we need a plane. The plane is $70,000. It's okay, let's do the plane. Let's do the plane. If the guy comes in with all his buddies and entertains and have fun and drink and play a little bit, next time he calls me, he says, no, now you're going to pay your plane. And if you qualify, I'm going to reimburse you for it.
And some players don't understand because we have a network. If they say they're playing a certain way in a place, we pick up the phone, find out if they really did. So, you think they must think we're dummies because we all have to have that network.
All of us, because you can pick up I play at MGM. I can call Augie, this guy, but now you're going to tell me because when you need something from me, you're going to call me and I'm going to give you the truth. So that has worked tremendously well throughout the years, and that hasn't changed. Because if I call a property and ask them for assistance and they don't give it to me, it says, perfect. I'm going to block you right here in this company like you wouldn't believe. You can call for a $5,000 guy and you're not even going to get if the guy plays here because I'm going to block you.
We have staying power if we have a good network. It's major. It's major.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a necessity in this business. If you're not networked and you can just pick up the phone and call somebody and says, hey, Bruce, this guy says he plays with you, and he says you give him this, you give him that. And
those are your legs, those are your tools.
Yep.
So, hey, Augie, so I don't know if you remember, but this stuck out in my mind too. You always said we had to have a very diverse team at the Showboat, and we did. Remember, we had the very lovely Rosa Ospina, who was Latino. We had Michael Baldino, Italian, Franco D'Angelo, the fabulous Frankie D'Angelo, Gary Fikes.
Oh, and Ming Ling. Yeah. I have a story about Ming. He was so good in the restaurant that I went to the person over the restaurant and I said, this person's got an unbelievable personality. We really can use him. He's Asian. He speaks Chinese. Please let me have him. Let me make him a host. And the guy said no. So I had to go to Cal Housel and ask the same thing. He goes, so see if you could work it out. So finally I said, here's what you say. He knows everybody and he's good for the restaurant. I'm saying like he's going to know those same people, but he's going to be on the floor bringing new people in. He'll double what or triple what you have. If that doesn't happen, I made a mistake, but you'll make a mistake because he's going to be big time. He's got the personality. He knows what he's doing. He's aggressive. He wants to do it. Give him a chance. It's for him, not for you and for me. And Ming went on, unbelievable. And of course, when Mark Brown hooked up with him, because I said, Mark, got to meet Ming. And then Ming went with him to China and everything. And now he's unbelievable. Yeah. He's just unbelievable. And I always liked him. And I remember when I turned 50, just a few years ago, that's a lie, and it's been a long time. But he gave me this big egg for my 50th birthday party. And I still have it. When you move around, it's a big egg, but I just love it. And I always remember how thankful he was that he got that opportunity. But it was he that did it. I just was able to say, I know this guy can do it. And then he did it, and he tripled it or quadrupled it. Amazing guy. And so he's one of my favorites. He really is.
Because as you say, all I'm doing is identifying a person and giving them a shot.
Yeah. Well, my point was with Augie, he was just always saying that we needed to have a diverse team because it reflected our players. It was about comfortability, have somebody that they were comfortable with culturally. Am I recalling that correctly, Augie, or is that?
Yes, you're 100% right, and it should be that everywhere. Mm-hmm. But in the business that we're in, it is pretty obvious to me. To some people, guess don't see it, but it's truly very, very important, and it makes total sense.
Mm-hmm. If I recall, too, I was reading something and pulled up a bio that you had. You may not know that I read, and if I recall, there was something that happened with an African American person, Jimmy or somebody, that in your life, and that an experience that you had that kind of developed this way of thinking about diversity and giving people a chance or something. Can you explain that?
It's when I was a teacher, and I was captain of the football team in high school, and Jimmy was one grade below me. In those days, there had to be like 4,000 students in my high school. He was the only black person, and he loved football, and he was a great football player. And I was captain of the team. So in my senior year, Jimmy and I basically, I was a running back. He was a running back. I was a linebacker. He was a linebacker. That's when you played both ways. I actually loved him. And we were playing, we're coming up to playing a team, Orange, New Jersey. And there was quite a few black guys on the team. So some of the guys on my team, on West Orange's team, had derogatory statements about their color. So I went to the coach. I wanted to call my team in, and coach, you can't be with it. Are you okay with that? Because do what you got to do. And so I started talking about how great the diversity was on our team. And I said, it's amazing. Like, we have so many different people, but the parents came from different countries, and somehow we all blend in and we all play together and we watch each other's backs. And I said, it's so important. Diversity is so important. And I said, so we have a lot of diversity, but we're missing one thing. We have a black person here, and there was derogatory talk about them. Mm-hmm. I said, that breaks my heart. So I'm emotional about this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
that was something back then. This was in the 60s, right?
In 1966. And so
and the riots were back in 66, right? Up in Newark and everything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I said, I want you guys to know I'm very upset about what's going on. Mm-hmm. And I just can't believe you think that way. Well, we're going to go out there. We're going to win as a team. We're going to lose as a team. But this is going to be about how we look and how you look. Mm-hmm. What are you made of? Not about football. What are you made of? I said, every game I get to pick, because I was the top guy.
You were the captain.
I was captain. I pick a co-captain every year. Jimmy Pritchard is the co-captain. He went on and scored 2 touchdowns, and he was a fantastic guy. And because of him, we beat that team. Mm-hmm. And I know that some of the people that heard me were embarrassed, and some of the people didn't care and probably would say things like that again. I can't change that. Mm-hmm. But for that day, I did.
Yeah. Well, that's the best part. When you can do something to affect a group of people in a positive way. That always brings out the best in humanity.
I stayed in touch with Jimmy, and he passed away. And his brother and I connected, and he says, we have stories about you all the time from Jimmy when he was alive. And his children also know all about you, Augie. Means a lot to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let me say this to people who may be listening to this. These aren't just words. I mean, because I know you, and I'm not a BSer. That's not me. I'll say the dumbest thing if that's coming out of my head because that's how I feel, not on purpose, but it's because it's me being me. And I remember you. I had a young family. I had my kids were born around the time that you recruited me, and that's how you were then to me. You were sincere. You cared. You know, like I mentioned about Joe Gimo, and I got emotional talking about Joe Gimo when he kind of took me on his wing too up in New Orleans. But you were that way about my family, and my wife at the time. I was letting her know that we were going to be interviewing you and talking to you. She's, oh, Augie, oh my God, Augie, oh my God. She thinks the world of you, because those aren't just words. That's who you are. When your brother would come down from East Orange, he would always come down to the showboat. You always made sure you put him in with me. You know, hey, this is Bruce. And, hey, where's Bruce at? You know, and your family. And that's how you treated me. It was so sincere. It wasn't no BS whatsoever. No blowing smoke up my chimney. Nothing like that. It was sincere. And and I always appreciate it, but you did it not because you did it for numbers and for, affirmative action or anything like that. You did it because that's who you were and that's who you are. And that's why I remember that story when I read it, and that's another thing that I learned more recently now than I knew back then. I didn't try to figure it out. I just went along with the ride, in the program. But now I'm seeing why you were that way and what made you treat people the way you did, and the compassion, the diversity, and that's why you made moves, and that's commendable. And thanks for sharing that story.
Yeah, my parents, I have a story that reflects that. I was very young. My brother and I, he was older than I was. We went to see the Giants play, and my hero, my father's number one. Number two hero was Willie Mays. Mm-hmm. So we went to see the game in New York, and we were kind of sitting in pretty far seats. But I bought the program. My mom bought the program for me, and so in those days, you walk down to a fence, and right there was the dugout. But of course, the guys down in the dugout. Mm-hmm. So there was a policeman there, one policeman. And I leaned over, and I was so short, and the fence was higher than I was. And I said, "Can I have Willie Mays' autograph?" Mm-hmm. My mom was with me, but my mom thought it was kind of funny. But the guy said, "Yeah, I'll go get it." So he comes back. I guess Willie couldn't come out, or I wouldn't blame him for it. But he signed it. And so now I'm walking back. Now I have a Willie Mays button.
You don't know whose autograph it was. It could have been the security guard.
But I had the Willie Mays button with the little flags at the bottom. And my brother, he's wearing a Mickey Mantle thing, right? So as we're walking back up, this guy just stands up and goes, "Tell your son, take that badge off. That's black guy." So my mother turned around and ripped his ass apart. She was so upset. She said, "People like you shouldn't be in the stadium, but people like you shouldn't be alive." That's what my mother said.
And that stuck with you.
My mom just blasted him. And so I never forgot that, mm-hmm. because Willie Mays, I don't care what color he was. Mm-hmm. Willie Mays was my guy, And to this day, to fast forward, this is just what God did for me, right? Mm-hmm. I'm walking for Bally's and they hire Willie Mays.
Yeah, mm-hmm. That's right.
And so Mr. Gilman said, now I'm in player development. Mr. Gilman said, "You're going to be in charge of Willie Mays."
Oh, man.
You got to be kidding me, Mr. Gilman. That guy's my hero. So I became his best friend. And he said, "Oh, I get gifts. I get gifts." He was a golfer. He's got 1 million golf bags, and people keep giving him golf bags with all the stuff in it. He said, "Why don't you take one?" I go, "Boy, I don't play golf. Just take it. Just take it." I didn't take it because it wasn't right, because I didn't play golf. Yeah. I stayed in touch with him, and he's always been special. And then when I went to the MGM, I had a limo there for different players coming in, and the limo driver was one of my friends. And he said, "Oh, Willie Mays is there. There's no car in him to bring him to where he's got to go." I said, "You take care of Willie Mays. Put him in the car." So the guy says, "Listen, Willie Mays, we'll take care of this for you." And he goes, "Oh, that's nice. Where are you from?" He goes, "Well, we're with Augie Renner." Augie Renner, how's he doing? He's there with me. And so they called me right away. And it's just, I had to just tell that story because we were talking about what was going on.
Diversity and stuff, yeah.
And so imagine a guy telling me to take that badge off. I still have it, by the way. And then to actually get to know him, you know, and to this day, still alive. He's not doing too well, man.
Yeah, he's still alive.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
He's alive. You know who sees him all the time? Rick Zeller.
Rick Zeller?
Yeah. He got
Rick's still at Bally's, Las Vegas?
In Vegas, yeah. And he got to know Willie real good.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I had something to do with that. But so when it comes to like
nice story,
what we look like, does it really matter, you know? No, it's what you are, not what you look like.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to dictate who you are, the way
that's right.
People, the way you behave in front of people.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. It's not the way you look or where you were born or your color or your race.
I don't see color, man. You're kidding me. I'm like Will Ferrell, that movie was about All-Stars, whatever. He says, everybody love everybody. You know what I mean? Right.
Well, think about this. Think of all of us right now.
Yeah.
Would we have met all these people if we weren't in the casino industry?
No
way.
Omar Sharif and
you would wish you met. How many do we meet? I mean,
Michael Jordan,
Willie Mays, and then resorts. They put me in charge of the celebrities and resorts. But that remember my party at Showboat. We had a whole day out because it was a great party that I brought in for the big players, and that we had that. It was all the celebrities that were at that party. They all died except one. Gianni Russo still alive.
Who was the guy? He wasn't a big star. He was a short guy. He was a buddy of yours. And he played in Ninja Turtles. He was a sheriff in the Ninja Turtles.
Oh, Sura. I forgot his first name. Sura was his.
Did he live in Ventnor or something? Or was he?
He lived somewhere close by.
Right.
And he was short and his wife was tall. His last name was Sura. He was a really nice guy. And they had signing things, so all the women brought their kids because they all watched the Ninja Turtles.
yeah. And then there was another guy. He was a dapper guy. He reminded me of you too. He was real dapper. He played in a lot of the mob movies.
Oh, so Mike Macedo. No. Sal Richards. Sal Richards
was there, but it was
not Sal Richards.
It was Gianni Russo that you're probably talking about. Yeah,
real dapper guy.
He's very dapper.
Model.
He is still working. He was Carlo in The Godfather.
Yes.
Yeah. And I became best friends. As a matter of fact, I was with him.
I would tell people, I said, Augie Renner introduced me to him. Yeah, he used to always come down. Yeah, we had dinner a few times. They would say, oh yeah, get the hell out of here. You don't know that guy.
You know what? In that roast, there was a roast. So my mom, we had just lost my father around that time. So my mom was at the party and I had a nice table right there so she could see her son and everything. And I said, Gianni, my mom's here. And I explained the situation. And there's a song called Mama, which was a very big song. And so it was sung in English and Italian. And so Gianni had a good voice and he knew the song. And I said, sometime during this, I want you to go down and sing it to my mother. And he did. He found her and he kneeled down on one knee and sang the song. I still have it in video.
Oh, that's beautiful.
My mom's passed away. My mom passed away too since then. But I mean, that song was very touching.
That's him. I just pulled him up. On my phone. That's him right there.
That's Gianni. Yeah. He was just in.
My phone's cracked.
He does his own show. He just did a show in resorts last weekend, as a matter of fact.
What are you doing lately? You're still active? You're still working, or are you retired, semi-retired? I mean,
I think consulting is kind of what I do the most now.
Mhm.
I get a lot of calls on that. A lot of it's out west. My daughter is in DC.
You want to stay close to the family.
Yeah, that's number one for me.
Yeah.
My daughter was born in 1995, and name's Rachel, middle name Rose for my mom. So last name Renna. And when she got a little bit older, I said she was an alliteration. And she goes, "Oh, are you calling me alliteration? You're calling me a name." I go, "No, I'll never explain. You got R, Rachel Rose Renna. That's called an alliteration because you're so beautiful."
Oh,
So,
wow.
it was an interesting way that I met my wife. I was always in Las Vegas all the time with the groups and different reasons. And she was working for Steve Wynn, but of course, we didn't know each other. And I always stayed in the buildings. See, in the year 2000, we bought Steve Wynn out, and she worked under Steve Wynn.
Really?
She was head of the wedding chapels, but she did other ones, but that's the one at the time that she was doing. And so her mom became ill and terminal, and she's from Pennsylvania, but she flew in because her mom was in the hospital in Jefferson, but where she was staying was a house in Atlantic City. That's where her mom was, So we found out, or she found out, that she came back because her dad said she's only got 6 months to live. So she quit her job, took everything with her, and went to the Cove in Atlantic City, where her mom was living at the time. But now she's in a hospital. So I had just posted I needed someone because now we have all these Steve Wynn casinos, and I was going to need some help. And so I posted it, and people were coming in and interviewing. And then Diana walked in. And when she walked in, I looked up, and she was gorgeous. So I'm thinking like, oh my God, I thought she was about 24 years old. And so I was reading her resume, and she worked for Steve Wynn. We just bought Steve Wynn out. And I'm thinking like, she's going to know a lot of people, and it's going to make it easier for me to make the connection. Mm-hmm. So I was really excited about that. So one of my colleagues that worked for me, after she left, he said, "Well, how did it go?" And I said, "Just perfect. She's from the Mirage and the Treasure Island." And he goes, "Well, forget all that. I know you don't go out. You just take care of your daughter. You don't go out. You don't see girls, nothing. Why don't you ask her out?" I said, "She's like 24 years old, and she's going to work for me. I can't do that." Well, she was turning 40. I thought she was 24 years old. Yeah. Gorgeous. And of course, I didn't think it was right to be over friendly, mm-hmm. But I did hire her because of the reasons I told you. And what happened was, as her mom got worse, she needed to ask if she could leave. And after that, I stay in touch with her about her mom, and I stay in touch with her because I liked her. She was a very nice person, and just gorgeous. And we became friends, and then we started to date. And when we started to date, the first date was really funny. There was funny things that were happening when I took her out to dinner. Mm. And she goes, "I never thought you had a sense of humor because you were so serious." And of course, a lot of my staff know I have a sense of humor, but I never knew you had a sense of humor. Oh, so she didn't get me yet. But now we've been together since actually we met in 2000, so 22 years. And wow. she became, my wife, and my daughter was already born, and I had custody of my daughter, and she became her mom, in that way. Mm-hmm. And so she's very special. She's very caring. And now, just to show you where her heart is, now her dad is in his 90s, and she's helping him out. And she's with him a lot to help him out. He's starting to forget things. But the beauty of her soul is unbelievable. And she introduced me to a church, which is a Baptist church. Mm-hmm. And I just love it because it's how it was different than what I was brought up with. But I feel the Lord when I walk into this church. I feel it. And, and talking about diversity, it's just, I mean, it's unbelievable. And we all love each other. We sing, we talk, we pray, we kneel. It's a wonderful thing. And had I not been work in Atlantic City, had I not been in the casino industry there's two special people in my life I would have never had her. One was my daughter, because I met a girl down there, and I would have never met the girl. I would never have my daughter.
That's something.
And my daughter is unbelievable. I love her so much. She's very, very special.
She's beautiful. I mean, you shared so many beautiful pictures of her and your wife. And your wife too, and I see the joy, and I saw the pictures. Well, I'm probably flashing them up right now. She was 2 years old, lovely, and
she graduated political science major.
Wow.
And went right into politics.
Wow.
And she just wants things to be fair. Doesn't matter like where she's at. It doesn't matter like Democrat, Republican. She's just want fairness for everybody, and she's a very special person. And when I got custody, that kind of says something about the relationship there. And she had to go through that, and it was a very tough time. But we became so tight. It's unbelievable. Now she's 27 years old, and she's a young lady now, and she's just full of energy, and I love her so much.
Yeah.
Evander Holyfield and I became really close. And when he comes into Atlantic City, he goes to my church. It's a really cool thing.
Oh, good. He's a nice guy, Evander. I met him a couple of times.
Yeah, he used to be a good player, but he
yeah. Oh, yeah. And I remember
who did you say? Holyfield?
Yeah.
Evander, yeah.
He was a good player for the house. Evander was split pictures.
Yeah, he was a horrible.
$1,000.
Yeah, he was nuts. He didn't know how to gamble.
He didn't know how to gamble. He was a very nice guy.
Evander Holyfield. I didn't say that. That was Augie and Miguel who said that. Okay. And they live at 3962 Windsor Avenue, Galloway Township. Miguel is at OU 812.
Listen, are you ready for this? This is true. Every morning, Evander sends me a religious quote. Every single morning. He texts it to me.
Wow.
That's great.
Every morning.
He's going to send you the bill one day because he's running out of money. You don't know that.
Bleeding a little bit.
Well, Augie, you taught me so much, and I appreciate it. And I tell you, you brought some tears in my eyes too. I'm sure Miguel was getting a little, because I know how Miguel is very a passionate individual. This day was a day that I was excited for when we were speaking about this in our production meeting and our little production meetings that we have here, and trying to do something good, stay relevant in the industry, to have people who have high status in the industry that have made significant impacts in the industry. And you have certainly done that. And we appreciate having the opportunity to speak with you today. Thank you so much for all that you've done for me.
Yeah.
And my family. Thank you all, the three of you. Thank you very much. And it was great reminiscing and seeing you, even though I can't touch you, I could see you.
Yeah.
Well, when we go to New Jersey, we got to get together.
Yeah. Oh, I will love it. And evidently it's I think it might happen because we're not that far apart.
We'll probably see you there soon in New Jersey.
I would like to. Maybe we could all see each other at one time.
Yes,
That would be wonderful. And Bruce, I want to thank you for thinking of me for this, the reminiscing and sometimes the reality of it all. But it's such a special thing. And thank you so much.
Yeah, it's helping. You need to know that you impacted me, and
for sure, many more.
But you need to hear it because
it's a two-way street. It's a two-way street.
Yeah, you've helped frame and mold me. You've impacted my family in an extended way, and you helped me develop in the industry and as a person. So I really appreciate it. It meant a lot to me, Augie. And
God bless.
We'll stay in touch. Okay.
You bet.
Yes.
You
Thanks
take
so
care.
much.
Take care.
Okay, Augie.
Thank
God
you.
bless you, man. Love you, man.
Love you too.
No, it was great to see Augie again.
Oh, man, was it?
Reminisce about the old time.
It was touching for me.
He's definitely somebody who influenced a lot of people in the gaming industry and left a big mark under his name. He very successful, well well liked and loved by the people that work with him and all the customers that he delivered into Atlantic City and Las Vegas. So it was a good treat for us to have him here with us today.
Yeah. And by the way, Hina, I think she said she texted me, it's very windy there in Las Vegas and she lost a connection. That's why we lost her.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, Miguel, we're so fortunate to be able to do this. We're like, breaking into the vault and having the key to be able to go down memory lane with people that were,
influencer in our lives, people who left the mark in Atlantic City.
Yeah.
We are old stump ground where we came up, and not only there, but in different markets. And he's still around.
We are so fortunate and blessed to be able to do this. And it's recorded, and I can pass it down to my kids.
For posterity.
Yeah. Man, but Augie Renner, it's great. We really appreciated his commentary, his stories, and we just hope that we can continue to share these with everyone. Don't forget to like and share, subscribe.
As Bruce says, please like and share and subscribe. We're here for you. And if there is anything we can do, please drop us a line at checksplay.com. See you next time.
And on behalf of Hina Reed from Next Gen Technologies, Augie Renner, thank you again. We love you. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Don't forget, Checks Play.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
We are one. No matter where